University had a way of making strangers feel like destiny. On the day Annie arrived on campus, the sun sat high and unforgiving, baking the concrete walkways and buzzing with the excitement of new beginnings. She stood in front of the female hostel dome, dragging a box that was clearly heavier than she had expected. Her face was tight with worry. New place, new faces, new life. That was when Ruth appeared. Ruth was struggling too, arms wrapped around a suitcase that had lost one wheel somewhere between home and campus. Their eyes met, and without a word, they laughed. It was the kind of laugh born from shared stress and sudden understanding. "You too?" Annie asked, nodding at the boxes. "Unfortunately," Ruth replied, smiling. "First day, and I already regret packing my whole life." They helped each other carry their things inside the dome, talking in fragments, where they were from, what course they planned to study, how lost they felt. By the time they reached their rooms, something had quietly formed between them, a friendship. They spent that first night sitting on the floor, backs against their beds, sharing snacks and fears. Ruth talked easily, her words flowing with warmth. Annie listened more than she spoke, but when she did, her words carried depth. From that day, they were inseparable. They attended orientation together, explored campus together, and learned the shortcuts that saved them from walking under the sun too long. People began to recognize them as a pair, Annie and Ruth. Then came Tesa. Annie met Tesa during a lecture that felt longer than it needed to be. The hall was packed, seats scarce, and Annie found herself squeezed beside a girl with neatly braided hair and a notebook filled with careful handwriting. "This course will finish us," Tesa whispered halfway through the lecture. Annie smiled. "At least we'll suffer together." They started talking after class, about the lecturer, about the workload, about how university was nothing like they imagined. Tesa was sharp and observant, the type who noticed details others missed. Annie found herself drawn to her calm confidence. Soon, Annie introduced Tesa to Ruth. The three of them clicked in a way that felt rare. They studied together, shared meals, and stayed up late talking about dreams they weren't even sure they were brave enough to chase. Ruth was the heart of the group, warm, expressive, always trying to keep everyone laughing. Annie was the anchor, thoughtful, loyal, steady. Tesa was the mind, practical, strategic, quietly ambitious. They called themselves sisters. But university has a way of testing even the strongest bonds.